Next, we have Dan Hughes. Coach Hughes is a legend in women's basketball in the state of Ohio. Dan led the Seattle Storm to 2 NBA championships and is the only coach in WNBA history to take 4 different franchises to playoffs and advance all 4 teams. Coach Hughes is the second in all-time wins in the WNBA and is a 2-time WNBA Coach of the Year, first in 2001 and again in 2007. Coach Hughes served on the USA Basketball Women's National Team Player Selection Committee from 2009 to 2016 and was an assistant coach from 2016 to 2021, including the 2018 USA Basketball Women's National Team that won gold at the FIBA Women's World Cup. In 2019, his former point guard and USA Women's Basketball National Team head coach Don Staley selected Hughes to serve as an assistant coach for the 2020 Olympic Games, culminating in a gold medal at the Tokyo Games. Prior to the WNBA, Dan served as an assistant coach for the University of Toledo's women's basketball program, that was 1996 to 97, and the men's basketball program from 91 to 96. Coach Hughes led the women's team to a 27-4 record, winning the Mid-American Conference Championship and gaining an NCAA tournament bid. Dan attended Fort Fry High School in Beverly, Ohio, and went on to graduate from Muskingum College in 1977. He earned his master's degree in education from Miami University in 1978. Please join me in welcoming Dan Hughes to the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame.
Good evening. I got to tell you, that Barberton team, now I remember that. I mean, that was right in my wheelhouse. And the fact they tossed Todd Rundgren into the acceptance speech, you got to love that. I'm just here to tell you. But I want to thank those who so diligently worked for this Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame organization. And I want to congratulate all the other inductees of 2024. I'm absolutely honored to be a part of the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame. I grew up in Lowell, Ohio, and at the age of 7, my parents took me to the 1962 Ohio State Tournament at St. John's Arena. And my high school, Fort Fry High School, was playing there. And it was from that moment on, I looked down at the team and I fell in love with basketball, but I looked at the coach. His name was Carl Hamill, and I've always known what I wanted to do since that moment. By God's grace and intervention, my life has been and continues to be blessed. Since basketball has taken me to places around the world, has taught me lessons, and has taken me places I never imagined that this guy from Lowell would go. This basketball journey has taught me and given me insight into developing leaders because of what people did for me and in turn what I passed on to those I was a part of. And what I found was that understanding leadership is best on display when we develop leaders. And that's what I tried to do as a basketball coach. I tried to empower my players, I tried to empower my coaches, and that's always been one of my major goals. And I don't mean to brag, but I'm going to brag on the people that formed my life. In the last 14 years of the WNBA, the champions of the WNBA have either been my assistants, my players, or myself. And that to me is one of the things I'm most proud of as I look at my career at this point. And another example is I closed my career in Tokyo and I walked off the court for the last time. The coaching staff I walked off with, 2 former players, 2 former assistants. That just, there's something godly about that I was blessed to have those kinds of moments. And as I look around this room, I'm so thankful for so many of you who empowered me. And I want to recognize my family. My wife, Mary, the best player I ever recruited. And my grandkids are with me. My daughter, Sarah. Stand up, Sarah. God bless you. Her husband is deployed, Craig, right now, and I'm giving him a shout out because he's across the world. She got 4 kids between 11 and 6. She's my hero at that point. But I want to introduce my grandkids. I want to introduce my grandkids to you, too. Guys, stand up for me. Logan, Jonah, Casey, and Penny. All right? That's my team right now that I work with on a daily basis. I want to thank 2 particular groups, players and coaches that influenced me and that I worked with. And from the players' standpoint, I ended my career with USA Basketball, Seattle, San Antonio, Cleveland, Charlotte, University of Toledo, Mount Union, Baldwin Wallace, high schools, Dover, Madison Plains, and I had the beautiful ability as a student to be impacted tremendously by 2 coaches. The first is Dr. Jim Burson. Coach, would you stand up for me right there, Coach? There's not a day that I didn't use something he taught me. And I coached 20 years with men and 22 with women, so 44 years I was drawing from him. And then Darrell Hedrick gave me an opportunity, and they're both part of this hall. And I just, as a student, want you to understand the beginnings they gave me were absolutely priceless. But when you're talking about players, how special is it that you are 22 years old, okay, the youngest coach in the state of Ohio, head boys coach, and you roll into a school called Madison Plains, okay, and you have a team, because at 22, you don't really know what you're doing. They probably knew that. But I had this team, and you know what? We have 7 of those players here tonight. Madison Plains High School, would you stand for me, please? Mike, Todd, John, Benny, Jeff, Pat, Dean. Now, I want to ask you something. If I said, we got a court over here, I got a basketball, could you go out and script the triple? What would you say to me right now? Well, you know where that came from? Coach Burson, would you stand up? This is how the thing works. He taught it to me, I taught it to you. And that is what I call empowerment. So thank you all so much. And I want to just talk real quickly about the coaches and the people directly in this hall that either indirectly or directly influenced me, along with Coach Burson and Coach Hedrick. Coach Banks and I worked for at BW. Helen Darling played for me 8 years. 8 years. You get to know each other really well, and God bless Helen. Gordon Gund hired me. Wayne Embry hired me. Jim Paxson hired me. Brian Agler joined me when we went to San Antonio, and his high school coach, Larry Gibson, and I worked together. And Larry is a great coach and would be a great candidate for this wonderful hall. And I just want to thank all those people that poured into me in my life journey in that regard. And especially, there's people here that coached with me along the way, and I want to say thank you. Thank you. You know, I believe in the power of thank you. I think it's an important thing, and it's not done enough. And I just want to say thank you for all the people that poured into me on my basketball journey. And I want to close with one of those people. It was a guy named Joe Tate, and a lot of us heard him call games. But when I coached in Cleveland, Joe called every single one of my Rockers games, every one of them. And he also gave me a start and taught me how to do a little broadcasting on the side. But he would close every broadcast, whether it's Rockers, Cavs, or he even did Indians, with this. And I'm going to close with this for you. Have a good night, everybody. So long.